Greetings and welcome to the Random University. I know we've been off for the last 2 weeks, but we had Valentine's Day, we had the Super Bowl, we had Tom Brady winning his 7,000th Super Bowl ring.
Oh, God.
Everyone super excited about. I mean, listen, I don't want to go down this route, but I'm just going to say it. I'm a Steelers fan, and at this point with Brady, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 7 rings. What do we do? You can't hate on him anymore.
No, I mean, you have to credit where credit is due, absolutely. But he also had a great team around him. I mean, the Bucks basically bought him a super team, first of all. So let's start there. The Bucks bought him a team. He did not do it on his own. I mean, he is a talented athlete, absolutely. I mean, like, you can't. There's no arguing that. I just don't care for him. That's all.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, everyone, unless you're a Brady fan, unless you're a Bucks fan or a Pats fan, you feel the exact same way. Being that it's February, we decided that we were going to do an episode on Black History Month, but we're doing a little twist on it. We always feel that, and I know Elly feels the same way I do about this. Whenever we talk about Black history, we're always told about pretty much the same people, whether it be, the extremely famous, like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and then they always go to athletes and things like that, which, not to downgrade anything that any of those people have done. They've done amazing things. But there is a whole nother realm of, what's the word for it? Talented
African-Americans and achievements.
Yes, talented African Americans who have achieved great things. I can't speak. And we wanted to kind of highlight those. Now, Elly, you are half Black, correct?
Correct. Well, last time I checked. Yeah.
But a lot of people,
my family, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people might not know that because I don't even think we've ever even addressed it.
No.
And nobody.
And, in theory, it shouldn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, in theory, like, why does it? Right. I'm not saying that, like, it does, but, like, in theory, it's like it shouldn't matter. It's like, I feel like we should judge people based on, like, are you a rapist or a pedophile? Because then you're not really a human at that point. Otherwise, it's kind of like fair game. But but unfortunately, not everybody operates like that. So, but yes, and I acknowledge the fact I am very ambiguous looking between, like, the red hair while there's teal in it, and the freckles, like, it is very off-putting. Most people are like, you're some kind of alien. Like, what are you? And it's very dehumanizing. It's great. It's amazing.
Must be such a nice thing when people ask you that.
Yeah, literally, I've literally gotten, what are you? And it's like, a fucking human? Like, I don't know what.
What are you?
I don't know what else to tell. Yeah, right. Like, I don't know what to tell. Like, a descendant of a monkey, just like I don't know, a Homo sapien. I don't know. It's the same thing. I'm not sure what you want me to tell you, but yeah. So that's been really fun to get. It's just like the ultimate dehumanizing thing. What are you? But anyways, that being said, yes, I am half Black. There's nothing wrong with being white. There's nothing wrong with being Mexican or whatever. I feel like that goes without saying. But I do want to preface this episode with this. Yes, I am half Black. However, I do not speak for the Black community. I am not, like, an official spokesperson in any capacity, nor do I claim to be, because I don't want anybody to get upset being like, oh, she claims to know everything about all the Black community, No, because my experiences as a biracial person are definitely not the same as my friends' experiences that are full Black, and that's really ignorant and stupid for me to try to say that they are. And that, I mean, yes, we do have shared experiences, obviously, but their experiences are vastly different from mine at the same time. And for me to try to act like I know what it's like to be a full Black woman is just ignorant and disrespectful and totally unnecessary. So I'm not going to act like I have that knowledge, because I don't. I'm speaking from a place of my own personal experiences and my own opinions. So I just want to put that out there. I do not speak for any community. I am only speaking for myself, and all my opinions and experiences are my own. That is it. There's nothing more to that. I'm not going to try to speak for an entire community, because one, that's not right, and two, it's just I don't see. I don't know why anyone would try to do that, or why people try to make certain people like the spokesperson of this community when it's like no. But anyways, so that's just my little piece right there. But yay, happy Black History Month. So this episode, like Brian said, we're gonna start talking about some famous Black scientists, doctors, all that good stuff. So first on the list, and by the way, this is not an all-inclusive list, because if this episode would probably be like a year long, which is fantastic. But obviously we don't have that kind of time. And all my little excerpts about each person, it's very, very minuscule, and that does not to like take away from their achievements. I highly suggest you go look up all these people individually. Like all these people could have multiple books written on them. So again, these are just little small blurbs about these wonderful, intelligent, fantastic people, and like paraphrasing their achievements into a very small, condensed manner. So it does by no means does this give any of them justice, but we gotta get on with the show. So first one, Dr. Ron Mcnair, one of my personal favorites. He the second black astronaut, second black man in space, or black person in space, and he has a PhD in laser physics from MIT. He's just a freaking genius. So I think what struck a chord with me about him is so he was born in South Carolina, like 1959, way before desegregation, all that kind of stuff. And at 9 years old, he showed an apt for like math and science, which awesome. So he goes to the library, doesn't tell his parents. I think he's like 9 years old. He doesn't tell his parents, doesn't tell his brother. He walks a mile from his house to the public library. And mind you, this is South Carolina before the Civil Rights Movement. So he goes to the library, he goes and, gets some books, and people are looking at him like, what's this little Negro kid like doing in, like, what are you doing in the white library, And so he goes to get these advanced like math and science books, and he gets in line, and waits his turn to go check out, and the librarian is like, this is a whites only library, like you can't check those out. And it's like, even just taking color, like I used to teach, taking color out of the equation, it's just like, how dare you discourage any child from wanting to learn? Like that's kind of what really just bothered me about that librarian. It's just like, not even like, I understand it's the South, it's before civil rights, I get that, but like, this is a child that is clearly interested in learning and wants to excel and educate himself. And it's just like, I feel like any normal person's response would be like, oh, let me show you all this cool stuff too. Like, not, you're a black kid, like you can't check this stuff out, this is whites only. But it's just like, you're gross for just one, like trying to discourage and prevent another child from learning. Like, you're a terrible person. Just on that alone. Not even like the racism aspect, just on that aspect. Like, you're really, and again, I feel like most normal people respond to like, oh, hell yeah, this kid's into like advanced science and math. Like, I got all kinds of cool stuff to show him. But anyway, so he's like, well, I want to check these out. He's not like creating a mess or like a scene or anything. And the lady goes, now. And so the librarian not only calls his mom, but then calls the police. And she goes, well, I'm calling the police on you. And he's like, okay, I'll wait. So he sits on the counter and just waits. And his mom comes down, and she's like, expecting like him to have like, caused a scene or created a problem. The police show up, and they're like, what's the problem? And she's like, he wants to check out books. And the police and his mom are like, can he just check them out? Like, he'll take really good care of them. Like, can he just? And so finally she relents and like lets him check out the books. And then his mom even made him say thank you to the mean old racist lady. But
that speaks more to her character.
Well, right. She's just a piece of shit in general. And so, but my favorite thing too is that the library is now named after him. So suck it, bitch. That's what you get, you evil, for being an evil bitch.
I hope that lady works there.
No, she's dead. I hope she's buried underneath it, to be honest. I hope she's buried underneath it. Yeah, they can't remember that kid that you told no. Well, he's actually, he has a PhD in laser physics from MIT. So he's a freaking genius. On top of that, he has 3 honorary doctorate degrees and various achievements. Also a accomplished musician. He played saxophone in his college band and was the first person to play live music in space. Hello. And on top of that, what did you say?
That's extremely, like,
right?
That's amazing.
Right. He's probably one of my most favorite people. And then although his life gets kind of sad, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And on top of being like a phenomenal, just incredibly smart and a phenomenal musician, he also was highly skilled in karate, and he won the 1976 AAU karate gold medal and 5 regional championships, eventually achieving the rank of 5th degree black belt. So he's just a superhuman, basically.
How do people do these things? Like,
right.
Let's just take race out of the equation, right?
Right.
He is a human being that has just achieved so much. Like, where do you find the time to do all that shit? Right. Like, if I wanted to go be a black belt in like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like, that's the only thing that I could do. Like,
right. Yeah. No.
He's like, oh, I'm gonna go master this, I'm going to get like the highest ranked black belt that I can. And then at the same time, just studying laser physics and thinking about
Right.
space, like just,
Right.
everyday regular shit.
Right. Yeah. Right. Although he was like, he did, when I was doing some more reading, because it's been a while since I read up on him, he did initially was like, oh, I don't know if I can cut it. And it's like, sir, you can definitely,
Yeah.
so I don't know if anyone should have doubts, it should not be you. Right. So unfortunately, he was involved in the Challenger fiasco, which, by the way,
Really?
yeah, so NASA killed him and all the other astronauts on board, which is really unfortunate. Yeah, so it's like we lost like I mean, could you imagine what he could have invented by now, like had he not died in the Challenger accident? Like that's the other thing too that I'm really bummed about. It's like because he was just like getting started. I mean, he like imagine like just his brain, like what he could have come up with.
How old was he when
I
he
think
died?
he was like 30s or 40s. Like, I mean, he's like, right. So it's like, he probably could have come up with like some crazy invention by now. Like, it's like, we lost like a brilliant mind. And it's like, the fact that we like lost that mind, it's like, no, but also the Challenger fiasco could have 100% been avoided. When I did look into it, it was like something stupid, like some error code. And it was like, okay, saying like, don't fly. And they're like, screw it, fly. And it's like, or something broke off, or there was like some type of hole or something. And I'm paraphrasing, but there was something that could have been avoided basically. Like that, the Challenger incident didn't need to happen, which is also equally upsetting. It's like it didn't have to go like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lastly, there is a crater on the moon named after him. So that's Dr. Ron Mcnair. I highly suggest looking him up because he's a total badass. And then more recently, Dr. Kizzy Corbett, she and her team at the NIH were on the front line of creating the first COVID vaccine. And it's the Moderna one, which is now being given out as we speak. And they were able to like come up with it, test it, and distribute it within 10 months, which I don't know if you guys are aware of like how vaccines work. It's usually not that quick.
That's absolutely phenomenal. It's funny that you say this because I was talking about this the other day to someone where I looked up. For some reason, I chose polio to look up. I wanted to see the timeline of polio, right?
Right.
First documented case of polio was in 1894. They did not develop a vaccine, and this is not even testing on human beings yet. 1935. Okay. So then they tested it on animals, run through all the gamut of all testing. They didn't administer it to the first person until 1984. Like where they said that, okay, this is good enough to give to people now. But then one of the side effects was it started paralyzing children. So they needed to work the kinks out of that one. But
I mean, the polio also paralyzes you too. So
yeah, but I'm just saying though, from 1894 to 1984 was that timeline of when they gave it to a human being. So now we're talking about COVID. We're a year, right? Essentially at this point, and come up with a vaccine, and they've skipped ahead massively. They didn't test it on animals. They didn't test it on focus groups and this and that. They went, okay, we got to get this thing out there. So they had to ensure right away.
Right, because there's an emergency vaccine.
This is not
and they acknowledge
people up, right?
Right, and they acknowledge the fact that like this is not typical procedure. Like we had to, kind of circumvent the wheel here because they had to make sure that this was one, not just produce a vaccine, but a vaccine that will actually work. And it has an efficacy rate of like 94 to 95%. So like the fact that it's already that good in just such a like minuscule amount of time, it's just amazing. So definitely you can find Dr. Kizzy on Instagram. She's only 34 years old too. So it's just like, and she's beautiful. And it's like, come on. But yeah, Dr. Kizzy Corbett, she is another superstar. Okay, next. And I know every gamer out there is going to be really excited for this man, Gerald or Jerry Lawson. You can you can thank him for the technology that spawned Sega, Nintendo, Atari, PlayStation, Xbox, all of that. You can thank Mr. Jerry Lawson for all of those things, and here's why. He is a self-taught electrical engineer that came up with the first ever cartridge-based video game console that would then be mass-produced and sold on a commercial scale. And actually, his first invention or creation was Fairchild Channel F console, which was released in 1976. Oh, and he developed this on the side of while he was normally working. Like, so this was like a side project, like Tinker Toy kind of thing for him. He's like, I'm going to come up with game cartridges and, make the first, console that you can, like, in-home console that you can swap the games out of. Yeah, this is like a side project.
That's so crazy that these people are as intelligent as they are. Like I said, like, I mean, a side project for me would be like, I don't know,
Painting.
drawing something.
Right.
These
Right. Like
people are
brushing my dog.
I'm going to shape society with something. That's what I'm going to do for my side project.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so he was actually the founder of the first Black-owned video game development company, VideoSoft Inc. Unfortunately, he did die in 2011 in Santa Clara. So he did make the move. He's from New York. And like most tech people, he's probably one of the tech industry OGs because he did end up moving out to Santa Clara, San Jose area. But yeah,
Hey,
so without him.
We had on the True Exact show, we had on Howard Scott Warshaw, and he was one of the people who developed the Atari 2600. I wonder if he knew him.
I bet he did. I bet he did.
Probably did.
They probably, and that's, then we got to pick it. Well, if he ever comes back on the show, we got to definitely pick his brain and be like, hey, the legend, right? But yeah, and the fact, like, self-taught electrical engineer, like, and again, this was his side gig. This is like, I'm just going to kind of mess around with this, in between work. And it's like, how do you come up with, again, like, you're right. My side project is like cleaning my room or it's nothing phenomenal. It's nothing like, I'm going to make a world-changing invention. And then another one, back to our lovely ladies, Hidden Figures, which you probably heard of. Yep. Yeah. So Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, amazing, like literal human computers. And that's what they were actually called, like in NASA, they called them the human computers. And all they did was just come up with computation, handwrite these mathematical equations and like solve them. And, fortunately, they're now getting their credit that they were so long overdue, but they were part of NASA's first ever space launch into orbit. So without these women and their team and all these other brilliant minds, there would be no launching into space.
We literally wouldn't have been up there for years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's so crazy how long it took for them to get recognition for that.
I know, which is so gross. It's just like,
but you know what it is? It's almost like they get hit with like a double whammy because it's obviously they're women of color, but they're also women. And in a time where, I mean, let's be honest, men still don't want to give women credit for things to this day. No. You know what I'm saying? So it's like in that time, there was no shot that they were going to get put as the face of that entire operation.
Right. Yeah. And that they wouldn't be given their credit. And that, finally in 2016, there's, a woman wrote the book about them, and then it was adapted to a movie. But I just still can't get over. They did every mathematical calculation by hand. And like you had already kind of, which, I mean, I will mess up like basic multiplication, writing it out, like, and they're like doing these crazy like calculations, and just like you're on a whole different playing field. And so again, like you said, if history has taught us anything, even NASA was on some bullshit. And due to segregation policies at the time, these women were required to work in a separate section. See, for me, I'd be like, okay, you want me to work in a separate section? Bye. Like, I'm out.
And what time period is that? Was that the 60s?
Yeah, 60s. Let me see. I had it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the 60s, which is really crazy to say because we're talking what?
Yeah, 1960s. You're right. Yeah.
We're talking 60 years ago, 50 years ago. Like, that's not that long. There's people like, I always talk about this when I talk about like technology. Like if you go back to 1800 to start at 1800 and then go to 1900, there were no major like, oh wow, this changed everything, And like, I mean, there were some technological advances that were very groundbreaking,
right? And like revolutionary.
If you go from 1900 to 2000, like the jump that's in there is astronomical. It's unbelievable. Within the same century, we had people were reading by candlelight, and also we had touchscreen phones. Like within that 100-year span, like that to me is insane. Like,
oh yeah.
But the thing that's even crazier is that in the 60s, these women could not get the recognition that they deserved because of segregation policies,
Right.
which is insane. So now here we are, fast forward 50, 60 years later, right? And we still deal with the same bullshit today. It may not be that we have segregation policies, but if we're all honest about it, that shit
It's
still
still there.
goes on. That goes
Yeah,
on.
so so a lot of people actually call this era the new Jim Crow, because it's like, yeah, well, the Jim Crow has been outlawed. We no longer have that, but some of those practices and ideals are unfortunately still kind of just woven into our society and how we operate and work. And so hence why this era is called the new Jim Crow era. So it's still prevalent. It's prevalent enough to, it's like, just because Jim Crow ended doesn't mean it went away.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing we're going to talk about, and a couple other people, another famous Black STEM woman. And that's the thing too that just drives me nuts about the science field, is like, not only it's just so dominated about like white men, and that's not like hating on men or hating on white men, it's just so predominantly white male that, like, it's already hard enough to be a woman in any of those fields, and then on top of that, compounding that by being a minority woman, like you said, it's just like you're working against, like, you're trying to overcome like two major hurdles here, because people are already gonna have preconceived notions, because like, you're a woman, you don't know anything, and it's like, oh, you're a colored, so you're probably not as smart.
Yeah, because
like,
even in that time, even if it was a white woman that came up with that, they wouldn't have
they
put her.
still would have been like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it happened to Rosalind Franklin. She discovered the double helix aspect of DNA, and then it was stupid ass Watson and Crick took the credit for it. Meanwhile, she gets freaking ovarian cancer from the radiation of like trying to photograph it with X-rays. And she didn't get her credit for a long time either. And it's just like, no, she actually figured out the double helix shape. But again, white woman, same thing. It's just like, you're a woman, so you don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Hidden Figures, definitely look them up. They're just phenomenal. And next, Dr. May Jemison. So she's the first African-American woman astronaut, and she was on the Endeavour mission of 1992. And yet another freaking genius. She enrolled at Stanford at 16 years old.
How? What the
right. Right.
I couldn't pass algebra. I couldn't pass algebra 2 at 16.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I was in algebra 2. Yeah, exactly. And so, and not only did she graduate from Stanford, but she graduated with 2 degrees. So mind you, what? So she graduated at like 20 years old with 2 degrees. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And her degrees they weren't like little random ass degrees. They were chemical engineering, which is no joke.
Yeah.
And also in Afro-American studies, which also, like, here's the thing too, quickly, if we're going to talk about history, I just want to say this. The history that we're taught in school is the most watered down, whitewashed version of history you could ever imagine. Like, go here. Actually, I have a suggested reading book.
The only famous Black person that gets mentioned is George Washington Carver for peanut butter.
Right. And it's like, he did so much more than peanut butter, but okay. Yeah. Honestly,
I'm just saying, that's it. That's where they cut it off. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. So The Black West, I cannot recommend this book enough. It's just going to open your eyes. It's like, and it just kind of I have to put it down every now and then, because I'm like, why weren't we taught some of this stuff? Because it's like, this is just as important. Like, but anyway, so the history we're taught in school is just completely watered down and whitewashed.
That's the thing, as messed up as it is, they don't want to empower future generations of Black youth.
No, or even people of color,
because
even Native Americans.
That's the thing. If you teach people different things, especially to help elevate a group of people, it's not a coincidence that they're going to teach us about every white person and every great thing every white person ever did. Why would they want to do that? Because they want to keep that status quo of like, okay, white at the top, we're at the top. So if you're white, you could achieve anything. And that's why it's very important, obviously, to tell a kid that they can achieve their dream, can do things that they want. But it's also important to show examples. Think about
representation matters. Representation matters.
Yeah, think about when you're trying to do something, like anything. When the first guy, I forget the guy's name. The first one who ran a 8-minute mile or something. I forget what it was. It was like a sub 8-minute mile, something like that. Forget the guy's name, but everyone said it was impossible. And then this guy went out and did it. And then everybody started doing it after that. Then it became a regular thing because somebody achieved it. So once somebody achieves it, you're like, oh wow, I can do so. I can do something like that. I can do the same thing he did. So it's the same thing. It's like if you put all of these great African Americans in history books and teach it to young kids, then they know, oh, well, we're not super suppressed. We can achieve things. I can achieve things. I can do the same thing that these people did. But fucking owners of the country don't want that.
No, can't have that.
Nope.
Can't show these Negro kids that you can do just as successful and you're just as smart and intelligent as every other kid. Yeah, no, it drives me off the freaking wall. And like, fortunately, I have a lot of friends that are teachers now, and they're definitely like they're breaking status quo. Like they're looking for other things to teach their kids
Good.
about, and like incorporating people of color and like
Yeah.
into their lesson planning and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And like one of my teachers, she's like teaches in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin, which is super white. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just like she's trying to just expand these kids' reality. Like, we're not the only people here. Like there's more. Like it wasn't just white people, it wasn't just Native Americans, it wasn't just blacks, it wasn't just Chinese. Like everybody contributed significant amounts and significant portions, which were just, again, The Black West, I cannot recommend it enough. It's a phenomenal book. Back to Dr. May. So after she graduated with her 2 degrees, she then went to Cornell and graduated with an MD. So she's also a medical doctor.
What is that?
Right. I know some of these people just make me feel so stupid.
I'm going to go to medical school and just be a doctor.
Right.
What do you think?
Right.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I double majored at Stanford at 16, and now I'm going to be a medical doctor. And she also speaks fluent Russian, Japanese, Swahili, and English, obviously English. But I mean, she's just a freaking mastermind. And she also is the only real astronaut to ever appear on Star Trek. And currently she is leading the 100-year Starship project. So that's making sure humans can travel in space to another star within the next 100 years. So she is still around. So definitely look her up. But I know after this, I'm probably going to do some more research on her and look her up more. But I mean, just another phenomenal, just like incredibly these are like superhumans, honestly. These are not normal people.
I didn't know they had a project like that. She should work with like Elon Musk.
Ugh.
Wow.
He's another story.
What's wrong with Elon? He's trying to get us off the planet.
Yeah, okay, which is great, but he did some whole martyr shit up in Alameda County. He's like, oh, if you don't let me open my factory, we're moving. And he thought people were going to be upset. And meanwhile, I myself tweeted him like, I'll help you pack your shit. Like, let me know when you're moving. I'll help you move. Just let me know. No, so I tweeted him. I was like, when's the date? I'll help you move. I'll help you pack.
He just wants to go to Mars because he wants to be the ruler there, right?
Oh, well, of course. I'm sure it's all ego for him.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with like helping humanity. He just wants to go to Mars so he can rule the planet.
Yeah, he just seems like an egomaniac, and it's like he's the classic. You're not ugly. You're just poor.
Yeah.
Like we all saw him pre-plugs. We all have seen him pre-hair plugs. Okay, so next, yeah, exactly. So next, Dr. Percy Julian, a pioneering chemist, another freaking genius. So he actually figured out how to synthesize medical compounds from plants. So like progesterone and testosterone from soybeans, which this was like this was like way before modern science, basically. I mean, obviously modern science at the time, but it's just like you figure out how to synthesize steroids from plants. Like how does that even occur to you?
Yeah, well, how do you even who comes up with that? Who's sitting around and is like, I bet you I can get testosterone from a soybean.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like, even if somebody mentioned that to me, I wouldn't even, like, if you were like, how do you think you would do that?
Right. Like, I don't smash it. Like, I don't, like, yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
You know what? It's so funny because, like, regardless of race, like, hearing some of the things, like, intelligent people do, like, whenever I come across someone that's like, I had a 4.0 in high school, and then I got a 4.0 all the way through college. And you know what? I work in a great office job now. I want to be like, you understand that you just did a good job memorizing things. Like,
right.
Like that. Like, hey, I'm going to take a soybean and pull testosterone from it to use it on human beings. That is a genius. That is an intelligent person.
Yeah, that's a whole other level.
You're just good at reading books and then regurgitating the information. You got to
right, and that's the thing. Right, and that's all school does. And that's another one of my problems with modern schooling. It's like it just separates who can memorize and regurgitate versus who can't. Like, school is not the best way to test intelligence. It's just, and unfortunately, we just put so much into that. And it's like, no, there's plenty. And like, even when I was teaching, there are plenty of kids, like, maybe school isn't their thing, but they're freaking geniuses in their own way. Like, they will come up with stuff. Like, they'll make little stuff out of paper. And I'm like, how the frick did you make that? Like, what? You know, like, it's just, but it's just like, it's like, here's the square, fit in the square. And if you don't fit in the square, you're fucked, which is just a whole other issue with how we schooling. But anyways, it's just yeah, all these people are just like phenomenal. And actually, the guy who came up with Jerry Lawson, who came up with the game cartridges, I don't think he finished college. So, and he was like the head engineer at some place, and he didn't even finish college. So it's like, you know, and that's not. I have a degree, you have a degree. It's not to discredit, but like, you don't have to go the traditional route.
You don't.
Like, to do something great. You don't have to, you know, go yeah. So just remember that. So then next, what else? Oh, he also was the first to completely synthesize physostigmine, which was used to treat glaucoma until like the 19th century. So yeah, he came up with the first treatment for glaucoma. So this was, I think, like 1800s. Yeah, 19th century. And it was the only treatment until obviously medicine has advanced and modernized. He also didn't stop there. He is the original creator of aerofoam, which was used in World War II to put out oil and gas fires. And we all know aerofoam, like today, like that's super crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Dr. Percy Julian. You just a pioneer in chemist. He's like in like the Chemist Hall of Fame. Next, back to our STEM subject, Kimberly Bryant, who is a highly accomplished biotech engineer. She worked for like Pfizer, Genentech, like not Pfizer, Pfizer. I'm like mixed Pfizer and Moderna. Pfizer, like Genentech, like just brilliant, a brilliant mind. So she is actually the founder of Black Girls Code, which was only founded in 2011. So like just now, 10 years ago. And it's a nonprofit organization dedicated to, and I'm quoting, changing the face of technology by introducing girls of color, ages 7 to 17, to the field of technology and computer science with a concentration on entrepreneurial concepts. And so, like we kind of already mentioned this before, here's why this is so important. The STEM field, again, is predominantly male and white male. And so as there are, one, very few minorities, two, very few women, and then especially very few women minorities, like this is so important to like, I love that she's doing that. She's like taking on this whole mission. And obviously it's not the most profitable thing. It's a nonprofit organization, but she's like, I don't care. These people know, you know, these young girls need more role models. Like you can do this too. Like you, instead of like looking to me, because she got tired of being like the only role model in her field, which fair enough. So she's like, I'm going to just create a bunch of, you know, self-sufficient, like, I don't say mini me's. I mean, although if they all ended up being like her, they'd probably be phenomenal people, but that's whatever. It's just representation matters. Like we all glom on to things and people that look like us. And that's just like basic human psychology. We instantly relate to someone that looks like us. And if all you see as a girl, all you see is just men, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's a very male dominant field. I mean, I'm going to still do it, but you know, it's kind of, they feel like I have no one to relate to.
Yeah, it's like subconsciously telling you like you don't belong.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And so she's like, she's, you know, taking these girls that are and educating them, teaching them all these like great skills. It's just fantastic. You should look up Black Girls Code. It's just a phenomenal program. But yes, representation is important. Actually, I had a friend when she was teaching, she wanted to get books with more, you know, a little more diverse book section. And one of the teachers was like, why? And I was just like, wait, this is like 2015 too. She's like, why?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
just like, okay, why are you even a teacher?
It's so, and this is going to come out really shitty to say, but it's like, we just need people with the old style of thought. Like, let's keep things the way they were to just die. Like, that's really the only way things change. Like when all of these people are just gone, like everyone that's like, I mean, I haven't come across anyone, luckily, that would have said this. But if someone's like, I don't think that there should interracial marriage should be acceptable, like that person just needs to die. Like you don't need to be here anymore. Like, are you really like? And even something like
there are
that.
Actual issues.
We're going to we want to teach kids different things. Well, why? So they could fucking learn. So they learn different things. So we don't just follow the same book that we've been following. Like I don't.
Right. Why don't you want to expand your worldview? Because there's more than just us out there. Like,
Yeah.
there's more than just you in the universe and in the world. And yeah, it's right. No, I had that same conversation with my parents because this was back when they were like trying to legalize gay marriage. And my dad's like, I don't know why this is still such an issue. And I was like, well, you see, it won't be an issue when everyone like your age and above finally just dies off because you're
Yeah.
the only people that are concerned about it. Like,
Yeah.
no one else can. I mean, not that my parents are not. My parents are not homophobic, obviously, but like, like their generation and beyond definitely has like no homosexuality, and it's just like
It's taboo. That's the thing. That's really what it comes down to. Because think about it, like there are things that I'm sure me and you have grown up with and we don't realize yet, and we won't get it until we get to that age. And then something comes across that's, I mean, take like even this thing of like everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be identified as a gender, right?
right,
Which a lot of us, and I'm 34, like it's whatever. You can claim whatever you want to be, but at the end of the day, there's only two types of people on the planet. There's men and there's women. And you could say what you are. I really don't care. Like it doesn't bother me at all. But like I'm not going to be the one that's like, oh, this shouldn't be, and we shouldn't allow these people to do this. Allow them to do whatever they want. I don't give a shit. But
right,
still is something in my head that's like, man, that's fucking weird. But
right,
I don't look down on anybody who wants to say
right,
a girl wants to be a guy, whatever. I don't care, but
right, exactly,
there still is that thing that's like, this is a little weird, whatever,
right,
but then it comes down to your character, like who you are as a person. Like I can look past all of it and say like, look, you can be a guy, you can be a girl, you could be it, him, they, whatever the fuck you want. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. Like that's all
yeah.
it
That's
is.
really what it is. Yeah,
It has
yeah. It's like, I
nothing
don't
to do
hate
with what
you
you
because you're
choose to do.
non-binary. I
Yeah.
don't hate you because you're transgender. I hate you because you suck.
Yeah, it's because you're an
Like,
asshole.
right. Yeah, no, and that's the same thing. Like, I personally, I don't get bisexuality, but do I feel like I need to be like, no, you can't be bisexual just because I don't understand it? Like, no. If that's what works for you and that's who you are, be bisexual, or then you're bisexual. But again, like, I don't get it. Like, to me, I'm like, how are you attracted to both? Like, but again, just because I don't get it or understand it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Listen, at the end of the day, everybody deserves to be happy, and you deserve to pursue whatever makes you happy. As long as it doesn't hurt anyone, then go for
Right?
it. That's all
Yeah.
that it is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So next, another lady, Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner. Okay, so born in 1912. She, again, a self-taught inventor, and one of her many inventions was the sanitary belt, which was revolutionary when it came to dealing with periods. Just so, yeah, I'm going to throw that in there. So periods make you uncomfortable, sorry. Her invention was an adjustable belt with a built-in moisture-proof napkin pocket, ergo less likely to have leaks, ruining your clothes. I'm sure, ladies, we've all been there where it's like, fuck. Um, and so a company had actually contacted her, like, oh, we want to market your invention. They drove down to her house and then saw that she was Black, and they were like, no.
Hey, here's the
Yeah,
we could potentially make all sorts of money on, but she's a black lady, so fuck that.
right. Yeah, right. Which, yeah, it's just that, to me, it's like, you guys, that's what we're getting hung up on? Like,
Yeah.
that's what okay. And so she actually had a total of 5 patents at the time, which was more than any other African American woman in history. And perhaps the most profound aspect of her story is that, again, she did not have a degree or any professional training. She actually got into Howard University, but ultimately had to drop out due to financial constraints. So, like, again, her education was cut short, and she still went on to like she invented a whole bunch of other things too. But like, again, she revolutionized women's hygiene, which is fantastic because it's already hard enough to be a woman, and then having to deal with hygienic products is a whole nother issue. And so, yeah, ladies, thank her.
Thank
Next,
God I'm a guy.
oh my God, you're so, yeah. I say that to my husband all the time. I'm just like, I hate you sometimes. He's like, why? I'm like, you're just so lucky. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. But anyways, next, Dr. Patricia Bath. So she revolutionized cataract surgery in 1986. So not long ago at all. What year you were born?
87.
Right?
87.
Okay,
Don't age me.
87.
Don't you age me.
Excuse me. Right. So she invented the laser phaco probe, which is a surgical tool that uses lasers to vaporize cataracts through a tiny 1 millimeter insertion point in the patient's eye. And by the way,
eye surgery to me is insane. That's one of the craziest things. Have you ever heard of a comedian named Jeremy Hotz?
no,
He's a
I've not.
Canadian comedian. You gotta go on YouTube. I'll send you one of his bits that he had.
Please
He
do.
he is so funny. He had this bit about going to the eye doctor where he was like, "They want me to get LASIK surgery to improve my
Oh, I
vision."
want to do that.
And he's like, they tell you not to stare at the sun because it'll blind you. But then I go to the eye doctor's office and they want to repair my vision with a blinding light in my eye.
Yeah. Oh, and they like cut your lens. They cut your lens and like then blast you with lasers and then they put the lens back. It's nuts. I totally want to do it because I hate glasses and contacts. But anyways, back to Dr. Patricia Bath. So her invention has been approved by the FDA in the US and it's also used internationally and it's still used to this day. And her invention, the laser phaco, actually has restored sight in many people who were deemed blind before her invention. So she basically has like she has restored sight in like probably millions of people at this point now. Yeah. And again, she's she's an own pathologist and something else, some biotech engineer, something like that. But anyways, yeah, she's like, I'm, you know what, cataract surgery doesn't have to suck. We can figure this out. And like, I'm just gonna make this thing. Like, what? Yeah, just all these phenomenal. And this is 1986, so not even that long ago. So she revolutionized eye surgery. Like,
But even with that, like you have to have an understanding of like the lasers in itself, like and how it works. And then
right.
now you're gonna blast a laser into someone's. I can't. This is beyond my brain. I'm too stupid.
Right.
Like when I hear all these things, it just reminds me of how dumb I am. I'm just
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. I'm just like,
get the batteries in the remote, stupid.
right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I feel like total lizard brain, and then there are definitely times where it's like the lizard brain has definitely taken over. Actually, I broke a glass. I blamed it on the lizard brain. A bug was on this pint glass that I had. I was like, oh, my lizard brain was like, oh, just smash it. Yeah. And then off the table it went and yeah. And I literally, after it happened, I was like, what the fuck did I just do?
And that
I was
flat
like,
probably it got away, right?
I'm sure it did. But yeah, I was just like, damn it, lizard brain. Like, why would you do this? Yeah.
Oh
So
my god.
yeah, I'm pretty sure these people don't have a lizard brain. Like they must not because
No, you know what? I bet you they do, but if you ever spoke to one of them, like if you ever had the opportunity to, I bet
God,
there
that'd be
would
so
be
amazing.
some moment where they were just like, man, I'm stupid. Like
Right.
human beings.
We all have that.
As smart as anyone could be, like we all have a moment where it's just like, what are you doing? Like you have to,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure it's like some crazy story in the lab when they're like talking over your head and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah. Next, Madam CJ Walker. So self-made, not like Kylie Jenner, self-made millionaire. Not a slight to her, but like she is not a self-made billionaire, whatever. Self-made, first African American woman millionaire. She actually created hair products for African Americans and specifically hair products that helped with hair loss after she herself developed a scalp disorder that caused her to lose her hair. And on top of that, she was also very generous with her success. She gave multiple people scholarships. She also developed her own training programs like the Walker system, and she employed in total like 40,000 African American women and men across the US, Central America, and the Caribbean. And then she was also very active in the anti-lynching movement and was a big donor to the cause. But she like revolutionized like marketing and coming up with and just hair care. And she again self-taught. Like she was super poor. She moved to Colorado with $1.25 and then developed this like $1 million company at the end of it. It's just like, what the fuck? Single mom, like all kinds of stuff. I think her parents were slaves, like just all kinds of like the person that's least likely to make it out. Okay. Yeah. Like you're born to slaves. Like I think she was a sharecropper. Like, the person that's like, don't have access to education like other people do. The person that's least likely to achieve anything, not only like achieved, but like went above and beyond, made millions of dollars, and then was also generous about it too. Like was like, I want to share the wealth, like monetarily and like physically. Well, not physically, but monetarily and like I guess cognitively in a sense. But yeah, it's just like just because most people are like, no, I did this, fine. Like I'm not sharing. but she was like, forget it. No, everyone get a piece of the pie, which I think is so fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last, but definitely not least, and again, this is not an all-inclusive list, and Lonnie Johnson. Okay, take a guess what his, again, this was another like side invention. And you're
Lonnie Johnson. That name sounds so familiar
yeah,
to me.
you're going to be like, oh, I know that. Take a guess though.
It's damn. I wouldn't even know what to guess. I can't even. That name sounds so familiar though.
Yeah. Okay. So little backstory on him. And again, this was like an accident. How he came up with his invention was a total accident. And he was just kind of always on the side, like tinkering around with stuff was just like his side hobby. And it's like, okay, he created this like $1 billion thing. Anyway, so he's another one of my personal favorites. So of course, he has a master's in nuclear engineering. And again, another just genius mind. Yeah. Just a master's in nuclear engineering. It's fine. Also an honorary PhD in science. He joined the U.S. Air Force and as acting chief of the Space Nuclear Power and Safety Section at the Air Force Weapons Lab. And it's like, ooh, I didn't even know that Air Force had that. Like, I mean, that's my own ignorance. I will gladly admit that's my own ignorance. I'm just like, ooh, that would never even occur to me. And so from there, he accepted a position at NASA as the senior systems engineer at the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California. And his achievements could literally fill a book. So we're going to kind of gloss over some of those. So after his many achievements, including helping to develop the B-2 stealth bomber, in 1989, he was at NASA for like 12 years. In 1989, he founded his own engineering firm. And at his own firm, he licensed and created the most famous water gun of all time, the Super Soaker.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my
and
God.
He's still alive today. He's only 70 years old. Like, this man is still alive. Like, yeah. He revolutionized the toy industry, the squirt gun industry. Yeah. So, and the story about it is crazy. So,
Did you find out what his inspiration for that was?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that in just a sec.
Okay.
So he said that he's always been a tinkerer, and his invention, again, was a total accident. And quote, he was at home, and this was in 1982. So again, the Super Soaker is actually not that old. Like, this is during our lifetime, basically. So he was working on an idea for an improved heat pump, which, what? And so it's a device for heating and cooling that mechanically transfers heat to another source. And when his creation sprang a leak, a burst of water shot across the room, and he immediately thought, like, oh, that would make a great squirt gun. And so to this day, he still has the original prototype, which is like PVC piping and like a 2-liter bottle as like the reservoir. And, but he's like, oh, that jet propulsion. Well, I mean, obviously he knows about propulsion and whatnot, but that's what it was. It was an accident. Like, one of his other inventions sprung a leak, and he's like, oh, that propels water really well. That would be a cool little toy. So after making all these prototypes, he finally like figured it out, and it's the Super Soaker that we now have today. And to this day, he has over 100 patents, and he serves on the board of directors of FIRST, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to inspiring young people to participate in science and technology. But yeah, he's still alive to this day. He's only 70. I think he moved back to Mobile, Alabama. But again, just this genius mind, and like everyone knows what a Super Soaker is. And so in that patent
we need
from the Super
Soaker out to him somehow, and we need to get him on just a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Like, to be like, how did you accidentally invent a Super Soaker?
Right. How are you like, you know what? Oh, I shot water across the room. Let me get all these little PVC pipes and put these together and make a little, little pump. Like the original one had like the pump on it, you like pump it up and then, yeah. Well, I know we absolutely should reach out to him because he clearly he's still very involved and likes to give back and likes to educate others. But I would, love to have him on. And the last one, which I forgot to add on here, I think I sent you the video. Hold on.
I think so.
Another person that's still alive too. But yeah, so I mean, we should absolutely really reach out to Lonnie Johnson because he is and he looks really cool too. He in the original, you go look up the photo of him with the original Super Soaker. It looks so cool. It looks like so freaking cool. I'm like, man, he's like, dude, you came up with the coolest toy ever. Literally, Super Soakers have only gotten more advanced and cool. They look like actual freaking machine guns now. Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture of it right now. I wish that's exactly what the Super Soakers looked like. Like, they made him too toy-like. This is awesome looking.
Yeah, the original, it's really cool.
For everyone watching, just Google Lonnie Johnson Super Soaker, and that original one that's extremely impressive to come up with that. Like, even if it's a toy, that's impressive.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And then to just accidentally, and to be inspired by like your own, you're making this like legitimate thing.
You said he worked for NASA, right? I wonder if he ever came across Bob Lazar.
Oh.
Because he did rocket propulsion, and Bob Lazar, propulsion expert, he built his own rocket car. That's what got him noticed, pretty much. And then, if everyone out there doesn't know anything about Bob Lazar, just Google it, and you'll find everything that comes up. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. I'm sure. I feel like when you're at like that level, I'm sure they all kind of either heard of each other, or like seen each other. Maybe not. They're not maybe like best friends, but like when you're at that top tier of like just knowledge and work, I'm sure they probably all like.
They have to like run across each other's paths or something, like in conversation with someone else. Like, hey, did you hear about this guy Bob? Hey, did you hear about this guy Lonnie? Like,
right.
They got to know.
Yeah. Okay, so last but not least, and again, this is not an inclusive list, Barrington Irving. So he set a world record. Not only became the first Black person to complete a solo flight around the world in a single engine plane, but also the youngest person to do this at the time as well. So he did this in 2007, which for you and me doesn't feel that long ago. At 23 years old. At 23 years old, he flew around the world by himself.
Wow.
Right. And so, and like in a video I was watching, he's like, when he was flying over the Alaskan islands, like going across to Russia, all these planes that were above him kept like messaging down to him, like, hey, like, what's your parents' phone number? Cause like the weather was really bad. It's like, oh yeah, he did it in 97 days too. The weather's really bad. They're like, we're going to probably have to call your parents and be like, yeah, he disappeared somewhere between Russia and Alaska, like whatever. But yeah, he did it. And so on top of that, he actually thought he was going to go to college and play football. Plot twist, he met a commercial pilot, and he's the one that like got him into planes and flying, and like using his skills in that type of way, and being like, no, like you're a smart kid, like you can do more than just sports. And that's not to discredit any athlete out there, not saying athletes are dumb, but like you can do more with yourself.
Right. Morons, just go out there and hit the ball around and hit each other. That's all we need.
Right. I mean, that is Rob Gronkowski, to be fair. Well, he's definitely one of those. Like me run fast, me catch ball, me hit person, me run fast. I mean, like I feel like that's definitely just how his brain works. But that's not every athlete. Anyways, so this other pilot like brought him down to the plane, like let him go in the cockpit, and he's like, oh, this is actually really cool. I'm actually like really interested in this stuff. And so that's what led him into aviation. And so now he actually runs this program where he takes kids, and not just like every typical average everyday kids, like kids that are, maybe in and out of juvenile detention centers, or that are just, again, like going down the wrong path, but they have a chance to turn around. He's taking them and helping them like calculate. They actually will help him fly around the world. And like sometimes some of the kids will like join him on his journeys, but they'll help him with calculating weather patterns, and then like making sure the plane is okay. Cause like he won't fly the plane until everything is like exact. And as we all know, when it comes to engineering, like nothing can be off. It has to be perfect. And like kids that didn't even know the difference between like 1/8 of an inch and like 2 millimeters are, getting these fine measurements and calculating these fine things. And like a lot of the kids he's like mentored and have been a part of his program go on to like Duke and become like dentists or doctors or lawyers, or go into physics or whatever. And these are kids that like didn't think that they had these capabilities or possibilities, or like that wasn't even in their realm of like capabilities or possibilities. Like you can do this stuff too. And so he takes kids that are like that, again, it sounds like he's abducting them, but he helps open kids' eyes into like, you can do this too. Like there's more out there. Like it's not just, oh, you go to college and you do this, or you go and play sports and you do this. Like there's more out there, and like you're just as smart as everybody else. Like you have these skills and capabilities, which I think is just so phenomenal. But he's, again, for some airline backed him, or some donor like is backing his organization. But yeah, again, another just phenomenal, amazing human being. But yeah, so that's my non-inclusive list of famous Black African American inventors, doctors.
Yeah, those are people that don't get celebrated often, especially, I mean, not just for Black History Month. I mean, just
No, just in general, their achievements
right,
in general.
yeah, their achievements in life aren't noticed. Well, I mean, they are noticed, but not put on like a grand scale like
Right.
certain people
Not
are.
like not like Michael Jordan. Not that there's anything wrong. I mean, they're not appreciated and worshipped like we worship athletes or movie stars. And it's like these are the people we should be worshiping because they are doing stuff that actually is changing the world. And again, that's not to discredit any athlete out there. Like you, I mean, I have my favorite athletes that I always wanted to be like as a kid. Like athletes have a great impact on people's lives. It's not saying that they don't, but when it comes to like long-term achievements that benefit like everybody, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like these weren't just like Black achievements. Like this was achievements for all of humanity and like just everybody that a lot of people have benefited from. I will say this though, I am ready for us to be at the point where we no longer have to say, oh, the first woman or the first African American man or the first Latino or first, Asian. Like I'm so ready to be past that point where we have to like where that's like a thing. It's like I don't want that to be a thing anymore.
We're almost not even celebrating what they're
What they
accomplishing.
achieved.
That they're just the first of their ethnicity to do something, which is stupid in itself. I mean, I felt this way since I was a little kid. It's not like I had something happen to me and I'm like, oh, we shouldn't look at race. But I've always felt that it's so primitive to just judge people based on a skin color. Like, do you understand that skin color is based on how close you are to the equator? Like,
Right. Yeah.
like
Like if I was in the desert, I would want
always,
to have darker pigmentation.
yeah, like we've created a value system based upon what color your skin is. Like you're a shitty person the darker your skin is, but the lighter your skin is, you're a good person. Like who the fuck?
Right.
It makes no sense. Like, and we wonder why we're down here, and like people are like, I don't understand. If there's aliens out there, why don't they come here? Because you'd probably fucking segregate them. You'd be like, let's kill them.
Right.
The fuck? I wouldn't come down here either.
No,
They
honestly,
would look
I've
at
had this
they would,
conversation.
yeah, they would look at us and they would say, wait a minute, they
We're so
still
primitive.
judge each other based on skin color and imaginary line
Right.
on a map.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That makes sense. Let's let them into the Galactic Federation. I'm sure they have a
Right.
lot to
Yeah.
share.
Right. Yeah. No, we bring a lot to the table being stuck on stupid things like skin color or religion or, your sexual orientation. And that's what I said. I'm like, I was telling somebody this yesterday or the other day. I was just like, I'm sure the reason why aliens don't fuck with us is because we're just so fucking primitive and just stupid and we don't take care of ourselves and our planet. These aliens are probably like, oh, it's that ghetto ass planet. Lock the doors, drive by really quick. Like aliens probably come by Earth like, oh, Earth is ghetto as fuck. Like, no
Yeah.
thanks.
We're still essentially, and I say this to everyone whenever I talk about this topic, like, we're still animals.
Oh yeah.
As much as like we like to think we've advanced past so much on this planet and we're the rulers and like we're the top of the food chain here, like we're still animals because if you take away two things, take away electricity and take away food, people will kill each other in 5 minutes. 5 minutes of no electricity and no food, and people will start beating each other up. They'll start killing each other. They'll do whatever they got to do. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That couldn't be more primitive, that we could just take away two things like that and we would lose all constructs of society. All of it would all fall.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, my husband, actually, I call him, I'm pretty sure he's the missing link because he's got these like Neanderthalic arms. No, I'm not kidding. He's got these Neanderthalic arms, like he's just like these huge ass arms and they're super long and he's super hairy. And he also has like this like just this huge brow line. Like his eyes are literally like sunken back into his skull. And I've asked him, I was like, how do you see? Like your eyes are just like in your like back in your skull. And
Did it feel like you discovered fire?
Right. Seriously, like he has a very Neanderthalic brow line, and like he doesn't have any cheeks. It's like you look like a middle monkey. Like I think you're like one of those like pre-human humans. Like you're not the full human, but you're not a monkey. You're just kind of like you're like right on the cusp between being human. Yeah. And I mean he freely admits it too. So like I went to he's like, can you put eye drops in my eyes? And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I went to go do it. I'm like, fuck, how do you get eye drops in your eyes are just so far back in your skull. Like I was having difficulty. Like, no wonder you put eye drops in. Jesus. Yeah. But it's real.
Oh,
It's real. Yeah. It's all in love and fairness though. But yeah, it's just like, if you look at people, it's like, you definitely have some like Neanderthal like traits. Like that still is very much in us and a part of us. Like that's,
man.
yeah. Like like what was it? One of those pre-human humans.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Australopithecus, something like that. Yeah.
I can't say these words. Australopithecus.
Yeah. Whatever Lucy was, like that humanoid structure they found, not structure, skeleton they found, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. But there are definitely some people. And he's white. So it's like, it doesn't even matter. Like,
here. We're an experiment. Right. Let's just be honest. We'll never find a missing link.
No, because we probably are the missing link. But again, he's white, so it doesn't even matter like what your skin color is. Like you could see these like some people just have these Neanderthal traits.
Yeah.
Like the deep, the super overemphasized brow.
The sunken. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I've seen it in people of color. I've seen it. I mean, again, my husband's white. He's as white as you can be, and he's got these Neanderthal traits. Like, so that's the thing. Like, we're all animals. You're right. We are all animals. Like, he just happens to be white, but he has very Neanderthalic traits to him.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
I think that's a good spot for us to end it. Elly, thank you very much for putting together that list. It's some people I've never heard of before.
Right.
So I feel a little bit more educated, especially everyone go check out that book that she had. Could you put it up again?
Yes, The Black West. The Black West. I'll send it to you when I'm done.
I definitely want to read that.
Yeah, it'll blow your mind. And again, like I'll be reading it and then I get frustrated because it's like, why weren't we taught this? Like, what the fuck? And especially being like a person of color, it's just like, because it would have made history a little bit more relatable instead of just like the only time you see black people in history, it's like, oh, the slaves. And it's like, yeah, that was really fucked up. Like, I'm kind of tired of hearing about how fucked up that was. Like, we talk about achievements, not just like, hey, we brought Africans over here and beat the shit out of them and fed them to gators, and somehow they survived.
It's all about keeping certain people down forever. That's all it's about. That's why they only teach slavery, and that's why they beat it in your head. Just remember where you came from.
Yeah,
it's fucked up.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal book, and it explains. It's again, you're going to be upset, and just like in general in history, like why weren't we taught other things besides just the whitewashed, watered down version that we're taught? But that's a whole new thing. But guys, thanks for listening, guys. Find us on Instagram. Send us the message.
Check out the brand new website.
The website, yes.
TrueExactRadio.com. We also have the store live. That's up now. We have all merch from all the shows. Everything is on there. Shirts, hats, mugs, aprons, fucking neckerchiefs for your dog. Literally anything you want, it's on there.
And you can post a picture.
You can get it for Random University. You can get it for Mark's Side of the Ring, Sharp Bets, or the True Exact Show. Or we just have the network, and we have True Exact Radio on the logos. Also, check out the Just Animals podcast, which is one that Elly does. We will see you guys next week, and thank you very much for listening.
Have a good one, guys.